Hi everybody, happy Thursday. Oh, I didn't realize it was 8 o'clock. I'm not sure if I'm live or not. It says live, so let's go there. Okay, so tonight we are discussing powerlessness.
Powerlessness.
Okay. Thank you, Jasper. Okay, and all right, let's get serious. So, recording, lost connection, we got connection, connecting available.
Still says you're live, you're
okay, we're good. All right. So tonight I chose this topic for a reason because it has, again, every week that goes by, I try to choose the theme of the amount of readings that I've seen or people that I've talked to. And I'm talking about feeling powerless. Meaning that, what is the spiritual lesson in not having power? What is the spiritual message behind not having control? What is the message? Why would I be in this position spiritually to be so removed from the ability to make certain choices in my life? Or do I perceive it that way? So here's how I was taught about power. It is a double-edged sword. So you have to be very careful how you wield it, because if it's misused, it comes back to haunt you also. Power is something that we have to be very careful with. So in this topic that I want to talk about is when we do not have power ourselves, when we feel not hopelessness. That's different than not having power. Not having power means that you feel that you do not have the decision to move forward. You feel like you don't have the decision to change your life, can't get out of a relationship, unable to leave the job, unable to communicate with the family members, whoever the situation may be. And there's no greater fear than when we feel we have no power in our lives. Because everything that we have been taught throughout society is have power, have power. I'm not talking about the type of power where you're a CEO or you're this or that. I'm talking about inner power. Inner power is one of the most essential things that we have to have if we're going to combat any sort of spiritual or life situation that comes to us. So going back to the days when I want to say becoming a medium, because you transition into your gift. You're not endowed with it all at once. So as I was growing through this, and I was working with Isaac, who's still my current guide, and I asked him, why do I feel so powerless? And he said to me that you're not. You just choose to believe you don't have power. You choose to believe you can't make a decision. You've chosen to believe the things that have been said to you and or the way that you were believed. So therefore I believed I don't have power. But in actual fact I did. I had ability to change my life. I had ability to conquer certain things that I was afraid of doing. I found the ability to define myself as a medium and say, this is who I am as a person. So finding our inner power is an essential goal, and this is where it sits, right here in the solar plexus, which is right above the navel. This is where our power chakra is. This is what gives us the strength to get up and do things in the morning. This is what gives people the strength to overcome horrific and horrible situations. This is how we get through grief. This is how we get through pain. But personal power is something that we have to hold very dear to ourselves, because if we are in Hi, Lauren. If we're in our own personal space, our personal power, no one can force us to do things that we don't want to do. Nobody can make us stay in a situation that we don't belong in. So why do I stay in an unhealthy relationship? Why do I stay in this job where I'm mistreated and or not respected, or whatever the situation may be? Why do I continuously go back to a sibling, parent, or whoever and try to get their love and affection? And it all comes down to, at some point, I lost my own self-control, my own power, my own connection to my solar plexus. At some point, I started to believe the words and the feelings of other people rather than in believing what was true to me. So it's at one point I got in touch with myself and I said, who am I? What am I? And how do I define this? Now, here's the thing, guys, that when we're going through finding our power, people get let down, people get hurt, people get set aside. But that's okay too, because you have to live your life for you. You have to be authentic. You have to do what you came here to do. And what you came here to do was to accomplish a contract that you have set aside, meaning that's something that you have came up with that you want to get through earth with. So finding our power only makes it a little easier because it gives you the ability to say something that many people don't like to hear. No. People do not like to hear the word no, or it's not going to work out, or it's not going to do this. I have watched people put themselves in situations because they would rather have something than nothing. And one of the best ways power was described to me is, and Isaac said this years ago, Phil, it takes more strength to let go than it does to hold on. We become so conditioned to hold on to something that our hands actually become frozen. So we just grip tight to it. But we would rather have that grip than to release. Because if I release, I don't know where I'm going to land. I don't know where I'm going to fall. I don't know what state I'm going to be in after I let go. But some of the greatest things that you have to do in order to accomplish certain things is you must learn to let go. Let go of anger, let go of resentment, let go of rage, let go of hatred, let go of jealousy, let go of lust, let go of whatever it may be that you're fighting in your life. Because, and also letting go of, I'm not lovable. And a lot of people struggle with that. Why would anybody love me? Why would anybody want to date me? Why would anybody want to come into my life if I don't look a certain way? And when you find your own power, it gives you the ability to define yourself in any way, shape, or form that you want. But it allows you to be true to yourself. And if I didn't find my own power, I probably would never have gone down this path. I probably would have been doing, I don't know, whatever people were telling me to do back in the day. But in this instance, I had enough people step into my life to teach me how to do certain things and teach me how to reconnect with my inner self and my power. Power is not control. That's what I'm trying to get across to everyone. Self-power means confidence. That's all, not cockiness. It just means confidence. It means that you believe that what you're doing, you're good at. And it doesn't matter if it's painting. It doesn't matter if it's laying floors. It doesn't matter if you're talking to the other side. It just means that you believe in yourself enough that you're going to continue this process. That's what it comes down to. Go ahead, Jasper.
First, Meg says you're speaking to me tonight on so many levels.
Yeah, Meg.
Janine asks, how do we know the most important part of our contract, and are there more than one lesson?
So, is there more than one lesson, and how do you know that there's, how do you know really what your contract is? Your contract will always unfold, so there's really no way to know what your contract is per se, meaning that you get to read it. But there are multiple, and I mean hundreds of lessons throughout one's contract. Hello, Steve. And so there's multiple lessons throughout one people's contracts, and in this journey that we're going down, each step that we take gets us that one step closer to where we really want to be. So in order to find happiness, you often have to go through a lot of unhappiness to find happiness. So I've dated a lot of bad people, a lot of shitty men, a lot of shitty girls, blah, 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 whatever the situation is, and then boom, love finds you. Remember, love finds you, you don't find love. So when you're struggling with that, you cannot find it. It finds you. So, and how does it find me? Well, Phil, because I feel centered. I feel grounded. My inner power is sending out. What you project is what you attract. Football players don't hang out with chess players. Like-minded people hang out with like-minded people. So if the power that I'm sending out is insecurity, if it's fear, if it's not being worthy, if it's not being deserving, the only people that are going to come into my life are like-minded people. But if I'm sending out an energy that is strong and positive and caring and loving and also filled with boundaries so that you don't overdo, you are going to surround yourself with the exact same people. Go ahead, Jasper.
So I want to seize my power, but I'm afraid. How can I overcome my fear?
How do you seize your power? And first of all, why would you seize your power? That's the biggest question. I remember saying that to Isaac one day is, why would I want to do this? This sounds hard. And it is hard. It is hard to seize your power because it's easy to be a victim. It's easy to allow people to tell you what to do because then if it doesn't work out, you always have someone else to blame. In this case, when you seize your power, you are completely responsible for your life. You are completely responsible for the outcome, regardless if it's positive or negative. See, there's really no negative because each step is a lesson to get us closer to where we want to be. So as I keep hearing, I failed at this, I failed at that. No, you haven't failed. You're one step closer to knowing what you want. But the biggest thing about power is about not feeling helpless, not feeling powerless, is I'm not going to give you my power, so therefore you can control me. And I find this happens a lot in relationships, is that one person is giving away all of their power and they feel controlled by the other person. Why that individual is manipulating and why that person makes them feel unattractive, whatever the situation may be. So why would I reclaim that power, Phil? Because I'm already hurt. You would reclaim it. You would find your inner power so you can have the life that you came here to accomplish. You would have that power because you were coming here and you said, here's my contract and this is what I've got to go through. Along the ways, we have little bumps in the road. People come into our life. They kind of set us aside. We can set them aside, whatever the situation may be. But still, we have to go down this journey. Once you find your inner strength, once you find your power, it's kind of fuels you for going down your contract. Not in a negative way, but it gives you the power to overcome the hurdles that you have set up before you even got here. So that's why it's so important to know that you're not powerless. You're just making a decision. You're making a decision not to choose how to better your life. Now, I know there's people out there that are in situations that they absolutely cannot change. I am fully aware of people who have diseases. That, again, is powerlessness. This is a tough word for Phil. So so there are people out there that can't change anything. But here's the thing, the other side of feeling powerless. Acceptance. And sometimes acceptance is a very horrible thing to deal with, because accepting something means that no matter what I do, no matter what I give, no matter how much I pray, I cannot change the outcome of this situation. So one of the ways to find our power is to accept where you are and what you're at. And I find this trouble with people who are in grief. And I know this is kind of a deep conversation, but when you go into this hopelessness and you go into the sense of, I have no ability to move forward, the soul then says, I got to gear you up to push you through this. So it starts giving you these little jabs and these little pokes to say, okay, come on, we got to get moving. And you have a choice. You can either listen to your gut or you can ignore it and stay in the space that you're staying in. But either way, the situation is not going to change. Go ahead, Jasper.
I've tried and tried to change my husband, but nothing works. He gets resentful and I feel powerless.
So I tried and tried with my husband and nothing works. I've gotten to the point where I feel powerless. Your job on earth is not to change another person. Your job on earth is to change yourself. I didn't come here to change Jasper, and Jasper didn't come here to change me, but we met up because we evolved each other. It was a growth. But I didn't come here to change him. I didn't come here to tell him how to live and how to look and how to dress or how to be. I came here because both of us met and we complemented each other. So if you've tried with somebody, and this goes for people who are struggling with addiction, this goes for people who are struggling with marriages, this goes for people who are struggling with jobs, whatever the situation is, look at your side of the street only. Meaning that if your side of the street is clean, the other person owns their 50% of this. But no way, shape, and form have I ever met a soul who has come through and said, your job is to change that person. Never happens. They always say, Phil, their job is for the individual to change. I've watched people get newly married and say to me, I've made a horrible mistake. What do I do? And the raw answer is, you correct the mistake. Meaning that if you felt forced into it, if you felt that this was impulsive, whatever the situation may be, but you still have to address it. Address it today or 10 years from now, it's still going to be addressed. So this is why it's important that we understand what power is. Go ahead, Jasper.
I just want to let everybody know I'm having a little bit of a hard time reading the questions if they're long, so I'm going to try my best to read some of them. One of them says, I feel powerless. I lost my baby at 22 weeks on the 22nd of August.
There you go. I obviously don't know what it's like to lose a child, but for every mother and father that I've met who have lost a child is, Phil, one of the questions I get is, what did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong? Was this a situation where I am to blame? I feel hopeless because I lost the pregnancy, and therefore I cannot control what's happening. And I don't know what your situation is, but people just assume that people can get pregnant like that. It's not that simple. So I know people have waited many years to be able to get pregnant. So any loss and feeling hopeless. So how I would address this situation is, after you lose a child, is you simply wait and let the body reheal, and then we're going to try again. Remember, as I said before, we get pregnant because a child chooses us, a soul chooses us. Just because we lose the initial body doesn't mean the same soul will not try to come back. Go ahead, Jasper.
I have a question from Luke. He asks, how do you know advice is from a guide and not just your own head?
So how do you know your advice is from a guide and not in your own head? Okay, it's very simple. If it's in your head, it's not coming from your guide. If it's in your gut, it's coming from your guide. Meaning that you get communication through the solar plexus. You get communication through your power chakra. And what your gut tells you is, go this way, try this, go for this job, that. Your head often tells you, it tries to rationalize what you should and shouldn't do. Versus when your guide is communicating with you, it's just a sensation and a feeling, you know what to do. That's the big difference. If you're pondering something, it's human. If you feel this gut feeling that I should do this, it's full guidance from the other side. Go ahead, Jasper.
Mike says, I'm having trouble finding enough time in the day or good help to get more done in between work and home.
Mike, you need more help, and you do too much work. So, and that I simply know. But it's part of this here is, okay, Phil, I'm trying to cram so much into the day. I'm trying to cram so much into making all of this happen. I feel like I have no control over my life. How do I fix this? Clear your plate. This is part of the process of discovering our power. Look at what's on your plate. What needs to be there and what doesn't need to be there. See, this is a difficult topic because it has so many legs and it can spread out in so many different ways. But if we bring this back to this is, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling you have no control, if you're feeling that you don't have the things that you want in your life, take a look at what's in your life and see what you can remove. And therefore, I'm not going to add in, because if I remove something, then I'm just going to work on what's on my plate. Don't keep adding stuff in, because the more you add in, the less likely you are to get certain things done. The point of the goal is not to fill the plate, it's to clean the plate. It's to leave it empty. It's not to keep adding and adding and adding. So if you find yourself constantly drowning in situations or problems or so on and so forth, it's because your universe is telling you, clean the plate. Finish what's on your plate, but don't continue to add stuff on, because the universe is still going to poke you. We got things that we got to face. So the more stuff that I add on, the more problems that I add in, the longer I stall what my contractual agreement is and why I came to Earth. And again, everyone has a different one. Go ahead, Jasper.
Isn't it just being selfish of me to walk away from a troubled person? I've tried to help, but this person just drains me.
So isn't it selfish of me to walk away from a troubled person? Yep. And you've tried to help and it drains me. So what does that tell you? Hi, Katie. What does that tell you? That person is toxic for your life. See, listen, the whole point of helping is, and anybody knows that who I've helped throughout the years, meaning that if it's personal or in the office, whatever the situation is, you must be held accountable. If you're asking somebody for help and the individual helps you and you don't follow through on your end, you don't get help again. This is how it works. And my nephew actually said, you're an amazing uncle, but you would suck as a dad, because he knows I don't bend on certain things. I actually do, but it's I've had to make a lot of mistakes, people, to understand how to get through some of these things. But the whole purpose here is that if you're going to help somebody, there's got to be something in response. Meaning that if I'm waving help, help, help. You keep coming to my aid, but I'm not getting better. Then I have now brought you into my world of sickness. And you have to ask yourself, do I belong there? I've watched people tell me that they absolutely belonged in abusive relationships because the individual has made them believe that they don't deserve better. So you have to ask yourself as an individual, is this healthy or unhealthy for me? Here's a perfect way to know if it is or not. If most of your friends are telling you they don't like that individual, there's a good chance there's something you're not seeing. Go ahead, Jasper.
Corinne says, but toxic people keep pulling you in. How does it stop?
So toxic people only pull you in if you allow toxic people into your life. Meaning that if you respond, if you're in your center power, you will know that person has too much going on, that person has too much drama, that person has too much pain. I don't want to be part of that. Not only that, I can't help them. So there's another person out there that can help them. Why it's a therapist, why it's a doctor, whatever the situation may be. But when we believe that we can help and or cure people from all of their ailments, this is how we get sucked in. And we also have to be careful because if you become an enabler, the person doesn't grow or doesn't evolve. So how you don't get sucked in is what I just said before. And again, this is the definition of feeling the opposite of not feeling power. No. It's a great, great word. No, I will not be part of that. No, I'm not doing that. No, we've gone down this road before, and I'm not going down it again. So that's how we stop toxic people from coming into our life. When they realize that you are not going to play the toxic game. So if somebody you love is struggling, then yes, we want to help them. But if they're unresponsive to help, then we don't continue to do it. Go ahead, Jasper.
Some people seem very powerful, very sure of their power. They intimidate me. How do I deal with that?
So sometimes we come across people that are very confident and self-assured, and they come off as very powerful. And it intimidates me. The first question that you ask yourself is, why am I feeling intimidated? Does that individual have something that I want? Does that individual reflect something back to me that I don't like about myself or I know that I need to work on? But what we don't want to do is assassinate the person who's in a position of they feel powerful, they feel confident. What you want to do is, what is that person doing in their life that I'm not doing in my life that could help me grow? And if you look at it that way, all of a sudden you find yourself finding the knowledge that you were seeking. It's pretty amazing. But if you're intimidated by somebody, just ask yourself, what does that person have that I don't have that's intimidating me? Do they reflect something back in myself that I don't like? Are they triggering a childhood memory? Is it whatever it may be? But we don't have to come from it in a negative way. We can look at it in a positive way. Go ahead, Jasper.
So I have a loved one that I can tell feels powerless. How do I help empower them?
How do you help empower somebody? Oh, this is a tough situation, and I have been in this situation, and what I have learned is you cannot. And I don't mean that in a way where you just give up. How do you empower someone? You can only tell somebody they're worthy enough so many times before they either do or do not believe it. But what happens is when someone has lost their power, they've gone into the first chakra, or the crown, the base of the last chakra, seventh, even, mine's are reversed, the base of the spine. And that's the victim mode that we talked about in one of our videos way back before. When someone is empowered by victim energy, it's very hard to empower them to be positive. What's victim energy? No one likes me, I can't keep the job that I want, everything keeps falling apart. It's kind of a Debbie Downer situation. I don't mean to sound sexist, but I'm just using the Saturday Night Live skit where everything positive somebody says, they have something negative to say. You can only try to empower somebody so much. If they're not willing to take advice, you back off. Let someone else handle this. But you cannot make somebody do something they're not willing to do. And the most important thing about understanding power is just because you believe it's right for an individual doesn't mean that it's right for the individual. So Just because I believe that this is a good life for someone doesn't mean it's the life that they came here for. So therefore I shouldn't force them and or try to make them stay in a place that makes them unhappy, because that is cruel. And that's something we have to keep in mind. Go ahead, Jasmine.
Hey, Julie, I'm going to try to read your question. From what I can see, it says, I'm married to a narcissist and I'm broke, so stuck here with the kids. I wish I could leave. I can't read past that, but she also says, feeling powerless sounds like depression.
So feeling powerless can sound like depression. I'm married to a narcissist, and anybody that has narcissistic personalities are quite difficult to deal with. Not all narcissists are bad. They're actually needed. Without Steve Jobs, wouldn't be sitting here doing this right now, would we? Mm-hmm. And so people do come in with narcissistic personalities for a reason. So I'm feeling stuck. What do I do? The one thing about people who are either narcissistic and or self-serving is they love responses. So if you're trapped somewhere and you can't get out, but the person keeps jabbing you, the best way to deal with them, don't respond. And I don't mean ignore. I mean, don't take the bait. So if you take the bait, all you're going to do is get into a pissing match. And it's not going to get you any closer to where you want to be. So hopefully that helped a lot. Go ahead.
Tracy asks, is it possible the things that I don't want to do are the things that are in my contract?
Yes. Everything that you don't want to do, meaning like the things that you really don't want to face because it fears you, that is part of your contractual agreement. That's your gut telling you, listen, we got to address this sooner or later. We're either going to do it today, tomorrow, the next day, whatever it comes, but we're going to do this eventually. So the universe is extremely patient. It will let you go through an entire lifetime. You may accomplish 1 out of the 100 things that you set up, or 0. But it won't force you to do something. It'll give you plenty of signs why you should do something. But it will not force you. It won't make you, because, again, eternity. So we will recycle. We'll come back. We'll try this. Now some people may say, well, Phil, what's the point? Why should I try now? Because you don't want to come back to try the same thing all over again. There's no need to. Let's put something into gear and make this work. Let's make it happen. Let's make something happen that at least it defines you and it gives you a little bit of pleasure. So, and you're allowed pleasure. That's not being selfish. That's allowing you to have some happiness in the downtime. Go ahead, Jasper.
So I keep feeling powerless because I keep trying over and over again and the same thing keeps happening. What do I do?
That sounds directed at me. So I keep trying the same thing over and over again. What do I do? So you don't. You take a step back. Look, I think I've talked about this before, that way back in the day when I gave up alcohol. I didn't give alcohol up. There was an ultimatum. This is what was said to me. It's either the bottle or your family. And I was like, blah, 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 blah. You're good and you're bad here. But I was so saturated. I couldn't even see. And until there was an ultimatum, there was a wake-up call, because now I was accountable and responsible. And I knew that because Isaac says, at least you have options. And what I mean by that is, he said, you can choose A or you can choose B. But Phil, at least you have options, because true powerlessness means you have no options. And that is the definition of power. So most times we have options. So for a lot of people, we have the ability to do X, Y, and Z. So hopefully that got through to, or spoke to some people. I'm sorry I'm not able to answer all your questions. But most importantly, what I want you to know here is that what you send out is what you receive. If you send out fear, the only thing that comes into your life is fear. If you send out affection, you will receive affection. So what you project is what you attract. I'll see you all next Thursday. For anybody that's going to be down in the Brookfield area next Wednesday, I'll see you at my St. Jude's fundraiser. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a stay cool, warm. I don't know what we're going to do here. Oh, we're actually going to have nice weather. For the people who are fighting the storm, take cover, protect yourself, don't screw around. Take care, everyone.